Welcome. This is Jason, and I'm here to talk to you today about animating using two Disney principles. One of them is secondary action, and the other one is timing. So I was going to illustrate this by showing this little race that I have set up here. And you'll notice that I have the cylinder, I have the cube, the cone, and the ball, or the sphere. And when I press go, they take off. And there's two things that I would like to bring to your attention. One is the timing of the actual race. And you can see here that in the beginning, it looks like that there's a tie between the cylinder and the cube. And the other two are kind of slow. One's a little, lagging, does these little bursts of energy and then stops. And eventually the cube wins the race. So that creates some dramatic action or some dramatic tension when you consider what kind of timing that you have. Also within that, look at the cube, how it makes that quick turnaround, different than the cylinder, and he's able to come right back and win at the very end. So that's the timing aspect that I'd like you to pay attention to. And then the other aspect I would like you to pay attention to is the secondary action, which is actually going to be the first thing that we work on today. And the secondary action takes place with all of these two antennae and the tail. And you can see here, if I slow it down, I'm going to take it back to the beginning, all right, it takes off, and as it takes off, the antennae lag behind, and so does the tail. And then as it comes to a halt, it kind of screeches up, and then the tail bounces back, and the antennae bounce back. It spins once, and as it spins, you can see, if I look at it from the top, you can see the antennae getting all twisted up at the top there. And then when it comes back, the antennae actually swings around and then causes the rest of it to come swing back around. And it takes off again. You can notice on that takeoff, it leans back a little, and then all of that energy. What is the Newton's principle? I think it's the third principle. Things in motion want to stay in motion. Things at rest want to stay at rest. Those antennae wanted to stay at rest, so they're dragging behind, and they create that secondary action of this cylinder character. So we're going to work on that because that actually takes the most amount of time. All right. In order to do this, you're going to need to open up the template file that you've been given. It's called the antennae tail template. All right. And we're not going to save that. Okay. And you'll see that in this file, we have our four shapes, but also to the side, we have these antennae that I built for you and this tail. If you ever want to know how to do more types of mesh building like that, we can, but we really don't have a lot of time, and I had to build it in advance because I think it's more important to explain the principles to you than to have you build the entire thing. So when we grab this antennae, we're going to take this antennae for now. You could put it on any of these objects, and it would work the exact same way, the way that you attach everything. You'll see when I click on that, here's my left antennae control, all right? And I'm going to want to grab that antennae control and drag it over to my cylinder. If I hit F, it'll go right to that spot. And you'll notice I kind of lined it up already on the grid to make sure that the antennae goes exactly where it should on the cylinder. All right, so we have here our full antennae, all right, and I want to make it move with the cylinder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this entire, see, I have all of this stuff laid inside of this left antennae piece here, and so I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it inside of the cylinder like that. Now my left antennae is there. What does that do? Well, when I click on the cylinder, it goes with it. You can see there, it goes any direction that I want it to go in. All right. So I'm going to do the same thing with my right antennae. Make sure it looks all lined up. Okay, and I'm going to lay that right antennae inside the cylinder again. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tail control, and remove that to the back of that. So now, grab the tail control, put that inside the cylinder, and if I did this correctly, then all of that should move together. And it does. All right? Now don't get confused by this left antennae mesh, tail mesh, and right antennae mesh. Those do not go inside of that. All right? So this is the order you should have. Cylinder, left, right control, tail control. All right? So now they all move together. All right. But that is definitely not going to be good for our animation for showing you secondary action. So within these different devices, I have built a control arm. So this is the left antenna, and I want to go to my left antenna control. And if I open it, you can see I have a left handle. I hid it. So now if I wanted to unhide it, I could go H, and now it's unhidden. And you could see here now, if I want to control the entire antennae, I can control it just like that. And I can pull it from any direction. See? All right. And I just did that by clicking on left handle. So I have in my animation, I have this guy starting to take off. Okay. And I like to build a little anticipation to it as well, and you should have learned about anticipation earlier. But in order to start, I need to set a key at the beginning. I always like to start back at 0, so I'm going to put these at 0. All right. And I want this all to end within, let's see, we're moving at 24 frames per second. I would like to take it, let's just do 120. Yeah, 120 frames, that's good. Okay, so I'm going to key this. I hit S, all right, and I've already got that automatic key select, auto keyframe toggle selected. And for the first 5 frames, it's going to lean back. All right, so I'm going to go, oops, I want it to lean back, not to the side. All right, and bring it up a little, there. All right, so it leans back, all right, and you'll notice already, look at it, if I lean back, it'll go into the floor, it'll go into the ground. So maybe as I lean back, I'm going to want to take that tail control, grab that tail handle. Oops. Let's do S. Remember, you always have to key in at 0, and then bring that up. There. So now it leans back, and the tail comes back with it. All right. And now we're going to have this thing take off. And let's see if we like the timing, the overall timing of going all the way down. So I'm going to take my cylinder, and the cylinder was here at 5. So it's 0 to 5. So we go S to save that keyframe. And let's see if we take it all the way to 60, how quickly that looks. All right, so we go, how quick that looks. Oh, that's a little slow, isn't it? I don't like that. I'm going to delete that. You know, there's a much simpler way to do this, and we'll see it in just a minute. All right, so I go like that, and aha! Guess what I didn't do? I didn't key in where I want it to go. There. All right. That's pretty good. Okay. Hopefully you were watching along and you noticed the way that I could have actually made it a lot quicker when I had done that frame 60 is that I could have gone to my animation editor, my graph editor. You should be really used to graph editors by now. And you can see right here, this little curve is where I was going along that x-axis, and I could have made it even quicker. So, you know, let's say that I wanted this to go to 20. I could have just grabbed this brought it back, gone there, and now, like, boom. That was super fast though. So I like it back at 30. All right, there. All right, so now we're going to create that secondary action with the antennae and the tail. So that law of motion says that things that want to stay at rest tend to stay at rest. And so it doesn't want to move along as quickly. So you can see here, that moment when it slides forward a little bit right there, I really want the antennae to want to stay behind. So I'm going to grab the left handle. I'm going to pull that back. Bring it down a little bit. And I'm going to grab the right handle, which right now is hidden. So I'm going to unhide it. And dragging that down and there. Swivel around, let's take a look at it. That's not too bad. Maybe I want to bring them in a little bit too. All right. Don't forget, you don't want to control it by the left antenna mesh. Sometimes if you click on it here, it's going to want to grab the mesh. You don't want the mesh, you want the handle. So I'll grab that there, bring it down there. Okay. So what have I not been doing this entire time? We should be paying attention to Jason's errors as much as his successes. So we're going to have to go back. I have not been keying this entire time. And you'll find that that happens sometimes. You get excited about what it is that you want to get done, and you forget that first basic step, which is keying. So we're going to go back. I'm pressing butterfly Z to take everything back to where it was originally. All right, there. And we need to set our 0. Our 0 is going to be that 5. I'm going to S. And just to be safe, I'm going to do the right handle 2, S, and I'm going to do the tail handle at 0. All right. And then at 8 is where we were before. We take it back. Oops. I want the handle. All right. Don't worry about those little guys that just came up. They're not going to get in the way of our work here. All right, so there. Stretch that back. And now I want the right handle controller, right? You can see our 5 has been zeroed. And now at 8, there. So now you can see it's been keyed. All right. So now look at it. Takes off, and it wants those antennae want to stay behind. All right. And also, what else wants to stay behind is going to be that tail. So we're going to see that tail handle, and we're going to unhide the tail handle. See, when I do the handle, all of the joints come back in. That's what those were that we were looking at. So the tail handle, you grab that and just pull it straight back. Let's see. Takes off. There we go. That looks decent. All right. And now it races to the end. Key 30. And as it races to the end, let's take a look at what we could do with our cylinder to maybe put the brakes on. All right. So now as we get to the very end, let's say just before it gets there, we want to start putting the brakes on. So we're going to give it a keyframe first. And then, so this keyframe just keeps it at the rate it was going. And then at the end, it drops back down. So we're going to take it here and screech it to a halt by tipping it back down. All right. Let's see. All right, so here it comes, and then the last, let's see, maybe in 2 seconds or 2 frames, a lot less than 2 seconds, it comes back. to rest. All right, and as you can see here, we're also going to have to bring it back down because it seems like it was floating up a little bit. All right, so now it comes in, screeches to a halt, boom, and then pops, boom. All right, so as it gets to this point and it wants to start braking, what are the antennae and the tail going to do? You guessed, it's going to want to stay in motion. So we get here, let's go to the 25, and we want to make sure that our left handle stays there. Right handle, which we're going to make it visible for now. So we're going to do unhide, and we're going to save that. And we're going to do the tail handle, and we're going to save that. Okay, so here we are, and it brakes. And as it brakes, these things are going to want to come forward. I just realized that I probably want to create, in case you're wondering, I should probably keep those at 0. That's what I was thinking. I should keep those at 0 all the way up to that point, 30, because this is the point when it's going to want to come forward. All right. So at 30, let's say 32. All right. That left handle is going to come forward. All right. And then let's see what that right handle looks like. Same thing to there. And the tail handle, don't click on the mesh. I should probably just hide those, but you want to still be able to see it, so you can't really hide it. All right. So the tail comes forward, bring it up and forward there. All right. See what that looks like. So it comes in. That was super fast. So you know what? Because I don't like how fast that is. That was like 2 frames, so it's not going to do a whole lot for it. So you can see here. Let's see where that left handle is here. Okay. I'm going to grab my left handle parameters. Oop. All right. Let's just do this a whole lot easier way. We're going to delete that left handle frame. And now instead of 30, that left handle is going to come up at, let's see what 40 looks like. Maybe it'll be too long, maybe not. We can always experiment. All right. So we're going to do the right handle again. All right. And we're going to delete it. And we're going to delete that tail handle. All right, and so the right handle, don't forget it was at 40. We made that other one come forward, so now we're going to go forward 40 on the right handle, like that. And the tail handle, it wants to spin around when I get to a certain point. That'll work there. All right, so let's watch it in real time. Right here. Whoop. A little slow now, isn't it? Yeah, I think it was a little slow. All right, so let's do this now the proper way, which is from the, so this is just the tail, right? And what I did is I just drew a box around it. So when my handle was selected, my graph editor could be open right here, and I can grab all 3 by drawing a box around it. And let's bring these back to, I want to go to 35. There we go. All right. So now I'm just watching the tail. Let's watch the tail. All right. So tail there, and then it settles back down. Let's have it settle back down at 40. All right. Here it comes. There it goes. All right, good. I think that's a good timing. So now the left handle, we're going to do the same thing. Bring that down to 40. I drew a box around. And I know that I know this can be all confusing here. And I've done this many times, so it's very easy for me to know exactly what it is I'm looking for. But I know that if I grab that left handle, this is all the left handle keyframes. And so I just draw a box around that keyframe and drag it back to about 35. All right, and it's a little bit more than 35 right now. 30. Oh, I can see it right there. There's 35. Okay, so 2 came forward, and then at 40, we're going to pop it back to its original spot. If you wanted to create a little bounce, you could actually make it come back a little bit and then bounce back. But that's all the fun of being an animator, is just going through those physics over and over and over again until you get it right. So here comes there, and it bounces back to 0. All right, so now I'm going to go to my right handle controller, and instead of being at 40, I want it at 35 there. And then at 40, I also want it to bounce back to there. How's that look? And it doesn't need to be perfect. I mean, if you want to make things look like real life, then there is no real perfect movement from A to B. There's always a lot of bounce and things, you know, being replaced back to different spots that make it more lively, more theatrical. So here we go. Here it comes. Boom. That looks good. Okay. So if you remember, my cylinder also does a spin. All right. And we're not going to do a two spin because you get the idea when it does a spin. So what it is it's going to do is, here's our cylinder. It gets to this point here, right? And the things bounce back. I'll wait till they're done bouncing back before I do my spin. So I'm going to set my keyframe for my cylinder. Then I'm going to spin my cylinder for those 5 frames. Take a look at what that looks like. All right. All right. All right, so let's see how quickly that moves. There. Well, that's pretty quick, but I don't know, maybe that's a really fast turn on a cylinder. All right. So what happens, again, when an object is at rest, it wants to stay at rest. When it's in motion, it wants to stay at motion. So when this cylinder spun, you know, I'm going to make it go a little bit slower by going right there. All right, there. So now you can see I'm at like 51. All right, and nice round numbers, a lot easier to work with. I'm going to have it go at 50. All right, so it spins at 50, and now the tail and the antennae also need to lag behind. So what do I do first? I set the 0 at 0 motion. So I save here at 40. I'm going to save 40 at the handle, and I'm going to save 40 at the tail. All right. So and now remember, it wants to stay in motion or stay still. So at 45, we're going to take a look at the left-hand control right here. So watch that. At 45, I want this guy to want to be over here. So I'm going to grab my handle controller. He wants to go. It wants to go that way. That way. All right. And the other one, so we go here, it's spinning. See how the other one was over there, so it's going to want to go that way. So let's say right handle, 44. All right, see if that looks like a legit motion. So it comes in, comes the rest. Now it wants to spin, and it's spun around. There we go. And the last thing we want to do is, what does the tail want to do? When it starts spinning this way, the tail's going to want to stay where it is too. So we're going to grab that tail handle, and at 44, we're going to bring that around like that. Comes there, and there it spins. There we go. And so it wants to stay in motion. So it moved there, but then when it comes at rest, they're all going to want to bounce back again. So I'm going to set it 0. Set my handle at 0, set that at 0. Before we start a motion, we always have to set it at 0. So that 50 frame is where my 0 is. And let's say at 55 is where this is going to want to come back to where it was before. Let's see how natural that looks. Spins and up. Up. You know, we talked a little bit about that bounce. So let's do a little bounce. We bounce back at 58. You can do this or not. It's up to you. Bounce back at 58, and then bounce back. Let's do it 62 to there. Make sure it comes back up. I'm just trying to get my, there we go. All right, trying to make it go back to there. So it comes around, bounce, and then back, snaps back. So if we can remember these numbers, 55, 58, 62, right? 55, 58, and 62. We can always go back and look if we need to. So same thing here. 55, all right? So there's where it bounces back. So at 50, it's at 0. So at 55, it bounces back to 0. $55, 58 with that little bounce in the other direction. And 62 was back to 0. Right? So now I look at both of them. They're bouncing back and there. Okay. 55, 58, and 62. So now we do the same thing with the tail. Tail handle. So tail at 55 needs to come back to 0. This is a rather long training, isn't it? But it does really take some time to piece this stuff through. Give you an idea. If you want to be an animator, you got to have some kind of patience about getting this stuff together. So 58 wants to stay in motion a little bit, bounce back that way. And then 62 puts us back to 0. Let's see what that all looks like together. Here it comes racing in. Shoot. There. Bounces back. And you guessed it. What is the last part? It needs to take off again. So we're going to set our cylinder at 0. Okay. Not a bad idea to set every one of them. Save that. Save the tail handle. Save the right handle. All right. All right. So they're all getting ready to go. And then from 62 to 66, let's try. Our cylinder is going to tip back and get ready to take off. Maybe it's even a bigger one this time. Bigger takeoff. The tail handle comes up, getting prepared to take off. Right? So it tips back. Yeah. And then it's going to take off. let's do to 80. Let's go to 80. Let's see how quickly that looks. So the cylinder just takes off right there to 80. All right, so it's back. Yeah. All right, so gets to 80. Once it's at 80, I want it to settle back down at 83. No, let's do 80, 82 now. 85. Oh, that's too fast. All right. And it's there. I'm not going to bother to spin them around at the end because you already know how to do that. All right. So we go here and then rest. Okay. So the very last thing we need to do in our secondary action is we need to make sure that our tail and our antennae want to stay at rest because they are at rest for that little bit. So here we go. We're going to left handle. We should be really used to this by now. Our left handle was at rest at 62, but at that point at 66, I want to pull back. Right handle, same thing. Pull back. Make sure it pulls straight back. All right, that left handle as I moved it around. You gotta get used to looking at things from all angles. So right there, good. 66, same thing with the tail. At 66, tail handle, not tail control. Right? I gotta check this again. So it was at 66 that those guys, there at 62 is when the motion began. So I look at my tail handle, 62 is here. That's right, remember I brought it up? So I also need to bring it back. There we go. Spins, wah, there. Okay. And it comes to a screeching halt right here. At the very end at the screeching halt, I'm going to want to bring our antennae and whatnot back to 0. Kind of weird there. See that little vent piece there? That's the right handle? Or is that the left? Yep, that's the right handle. No, it's the left one. See how that's bent? I don't know why it was bothering me, but I really want to make sure that I get my physics right. So I pull that back a little harder. So it actually looks like spinning straight back. And while I'm at it, I'm going to do my right handle again, just a little bit. Get down. There, now it really is. Has the effects of Newton's third law. So there, it gets to the end. And as I get to the end, I'm going to set my 0 again for left handle, right handle, tail handle. You get really used to this after a while. And at 85, they also come to a screeching halt. Handle comes up. Left handle comes up. There. So here it comes. Screeching halt. And that's it. Maybe I'll let them come back at rest now. Left handle, right handle. And again, you do not have to worry about making these completely perfect. This is all what their art is all about when you're an animator, is all those little, to us, at first they might seem like errors, but later it's a part of a character. All right. So it comes to a screeching halt, bam. All right, let's look at the whole thing. I think we're looking good. You know what, before I go any further, I'm gonna save this scene as, because I haven't saved anything yet. You can see here that I have a whole bunch. Antennae and tail complete. You should probably do this at the very beginning, and I should have shown you that. I should always save a new file at the very beginning. I'm going to call it complete too because I've done one of these already. Secondary action. All right. I'll call it secondary action actually. Secondary action complete 2. Save as. Continue. Okay. So there we have it. There's our secondary action. All right. I have a feeling that maybe moving on to our timing section might be a bit much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this right now, and then I'm going to create another tutorial with just the timing using the same file. So you could take a break, enjoy your work, and maybe make some tweaks if you want to. All right, so come see me at the timing tutorial after this.